Hi, writers. Welcome to episode number 41 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron, and I'm so glad that you're here. Today, as I record, it is March 29th, and I am talking to Sheree Greer, who you will love. It was one of those interviews that just filled me with inspiration to the point where I literally finished talking to her and moved to my standing desk and just wrote by hand because it felt really good. So you'll love the interview. She's dynamic and fabulous. So enjoy that. A little catch up. Something happened last week that is mildly exciting. I would say that it is like wildly, hair-tearingly exciting, but it's in the publishing world. So I can't tell you what it is. I'm sorry. And it's really, honestly, it's a minor thing, but it is kind of exciting. Somebody basically reached out and tapped my agent and said, hey, that thriller that Rachel's working on, what are you thinking about it? So instead of working on my thriller this week, I am, moving to the end, which is what I usually do. Instead of moving to the end, I'm actually going back to the beginning and revising the first 100 pages in order to show this person the first 100 pages. So this is definitely not my process. This is definitely a leap away from my process because in my world, I don't know what a book wants to be until it's done. And then I go back and revise it into the right shape. I'm also having to revise the synopsis. And you guys, synopses suck. Everyone knows that synopses just suck so hard. And the truth is, when you write a synopsis in the first place, you write it with the knowledge you're never going to write that book. That's the truth. You just don't know what kind of book you're going to write until you write it. The synopsis is merely something you give to your agent or to an editor to say, this is what I think I'm going to write. And then that doesn't happen. So now that I'm, a little bit more than halfway, maybe almost 2/3 of the way done with the book, I went back to my original synopsis and nothing fits. So I'm basically rewriting that from scratch. So that's actually taking more time than the revision of the words. So that's what I've been working on. It's really fun. Actually, I love revision so much. So it was this candy that was handed to me. Oh, shucks, I have to go revise. The reason I think it's dangerous is that when you revise something, every single time you touch it, every single time you look at it or read it, it becomes more precious to you. Therefore, things that are precious are very hard to throw out. And oftentimes, in a manuscript, things need to be thrown out. We can't get attached to them. So I prefer to be hands-off until I know what the book is. That said, I have to do this. It's my job. So it's fun. So that's been great. The weather is fantastic. It's a beautiful 72 degrees outside. I just drove back from the library with my top down on my smart car because I am that cool. There's really nothing cool about a smart car convertible. You look like a dork, but I am a happy dork. And just gearing up for Venice. I leave in a week. I'll have one more interview to record with you next week, and then I'll be gone for a couple of weeks in Venice with my writing retreat. So I'm just kind of giddy about that. I'm giddy about a lot of things. Feels good. So let's jump into the interview. I know you're going to enjoy Sheree, and I hope that you get some good writing time in there, and I'll talk to you soon. Well, I am so very pleased today to welcome Sheree Greer. Hi, Sheree.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm so good. So happy to talk to you. Let me give you a quick introduction for those who might not know you. A Milwaukee, Wisconsin native, Sheree L. Greer founded the Kitchen Table Literary Arts Center to showcase and support the work of ancestor, elder, and contemporary women writers of color. The author of 2 novels, Let the Lover Be and A Return to Arms, and the short story collection, Once and Future Lovers, Sheree recently published a writing guide for student writers, Stop Writing Wack Essays, which is awesome. She is a VONA alum with work featured on Very Smart Brothas, AutoStraddle, Ms. Fit Magazine, and Hypertext. Sheree teaches composition, creative writing, fiction workshop, and African American literature at St. Petersburg College in Florida. Welcome. That is a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I've been busy. I've been busy.
That's an
I've been busy.
awesome bio. So this is, as you already know, this is all about process and how you
Hmm.
write. And I would love
Okay.
to know, what is the best time of day for you to write, and where do you write?
Um, the best time of day is anytime I can be left alone. And that varies depending on whether it is during the semester, whether it's the summertime, whether I have house guests or not, what my fiance's schedule is like. And so it varies between like really early in the morning,
Hmm.
um, or really, really late at night. I've been fortunate enough that I don't teach on Fridays. And so for a good portion of those first two novels, I wrote primarily on Fridays, like
Wow.
all day Friday, because my fiance's at work. So she's, not here to bother me. And
Yeah.
I'm just kind of here
So
and
you
can be
write
left
there?
alone and work. Yeah, mostly at home, in my office. I used to think that I had to be like squirreled away and kind of that whole kind of introverted, just secret lock away kind of situation. But I found that I can write anywhere if I can again be left alone.
Hmm.
I write to music all the time, so I put my headphones on and I can just go there. So I can be anywhere. So if I get a little tired of being in my office, which I don't really because I love my office a lot. But sometimes if I want to be outside or, go get lunch, I'll take my journal with me or my laptop with me. And so anywhere, actually.
Have you had
So,
success writing outside? For some reason, to me, that sounds really romantic, and I always do it. But then when I get to the outside, to the park bench or whatever, I get too distracted and too interested in the world.
man, yeah, you just start like thinking instead of writing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then if it's not a nice breeze or not, oh, ducks, like you can't,
The sun's
you
kind of
can't
not at the right
focus.
angle.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
forgot your
it gets
hat.
tough. It gets tough. So I'm mostly journal writing
Yeah.
when I'm out and about. So I tried writing at the beach once,
Oh
and that didn't
no.
work at all. That
But
didn't work at all.
the image of it is just perfection.
Yeah, isn't it? Like, oh, you're just laid back and nah, not even.
And how do you write? Are you primarily longhand, computer?
I am a huge journaler. Like I handwrite almost, I would say 95% of everything I've ever written started in a journal. So
Wow.
um, I handwrite and then transcribe the draft or expand it or whatever. Sometimes it's just a few ideas or dialogue, and then once I start typing it, I'll switch completely over to being on the computer. But I handwrite mostly.
That is really cool. I'm a little bit jealous. I love the image of handwriting, and I just don't do it.
But it's getting worse. My handwriting is getting worse and worse with each passing year. So it's like I'll write something and I'm inspired, so I'm just scribbling, and then when I go back to type it up, I'm like, what the hell does this say? I don't even know what that says, and it's like
Isn't that
shit. I'm not sure that was
frustrating?
a great sentence.
It
Ah,
was probably the perfect
it
sentence.
was probably the perfect sentence.
What is the worst writing advice you've ever been given?
Um, Worst. I think, and this just recently, and when I say recently, I mean the last couple years. I was told not to think about audience like at all,
Hmm.
and a lot of people still say that and still feel like don't think about audience, just write from your heart or write what you feel. Don't worry about audience. And I've been doing the opposite actually, and I've been thinking a lot about who I'm writing to
Mm-hmm.
and who I'm writing for. And I did a workshop with Kiese Layman, who's like one of my all-time favorite contemporary writers, and he really brought that concept to the fore. Who are you thinking of when you're writing a story? Um, because I feel like thinking about audience in that way, and maybe when people say don't think about audience, they're more like don't think about maybe book sales or who's gonna
Maybe.
like your book. And but I feel like if that's what you're saying, then say that. Like
Right.
write, don't think about sales, write and don't think about genre. but you have to think about your audience and who are you speaking to, because it changes, I think, depending on, who you feel like you're writing for, like whose story are you trying to tell and to whom are you trying to tell it.
Do you have an ideal reader that you are mostly writing to?
Um, I think I write to, and it sounds bad when I say it. I think I'm writing to myself a lot.
I love that.
And it maybe me not right in this moment, but me some time ago.
Oh.
And what was I looking for? Because I've always been an avid reader. So it's like, what was I looking for? What would the 14-year-old Sheree be looking for in a book? Or what would the 25-year-old Sheree be looking for in a book? And so I think about that, and how does that play out in terms of the things that I've been holding on to for, all this time, and how do they make themselves into story and into other characters and things like that, I think.
That's lovely. I love that. What secret writing tip of awesomeness did you discover the hard way?
I got notes right here. I guess I discovered you can't half-ass writing. Like you can't, because I do a lot of stuff, and part of it, my sister tells me, my younger sister does tarot readings and shit, and she's so she tells me all the time that, so she's in the sun signs and everything, and she says that as a Virgo, I thrive in productivity and all this stuff, and I buy it. I think I do. I thrive on being busy and doing stuff.
All the Virgos I've ever known are just like that.
Yeah, they just do, right? What's your sign?
I'm Cancer.
You're a Cancer.
So I'm in my
older
home.
Sister's a Cancer.
Oh,
yeah,
is she?
Yeah. Take my home with me. Yeah,
exactly. I unpack in a hotel room.
So so I'm always doing stuff, but then I found out the hard way through some projects that didn't really get where I wanted them to get, or projects that I've sort of left somewhere, and I think about them all the time. Focus and streamlining and monotasking is important, and I'm just now realizing that it's great to have all these different ideas and to do all these different things, but at some point you've got to narrow the focus down, particularly if you're writing something important and you feel that it's important, which would be most things, I think, when you're a writer. What does it mean to say, no, this is the thing that I'm doing, and I need to see it through, and I can't compromise that. And so that's been tough for me, because I'm a people pleaser too, so I don't like saying no, but in order to get that focus, you kind of have to start telling people no, and kind of falling back and focusing, I think. So.
Have you heard of that book, Deep Work?
No, I haven't.
By Cal Newport. Called Deep Work, and that's basically his primary thesis is why our deep work is important, and why we need to monotask deep work. Because I think that people like me, and people that I'm guessing you are, we've gotten pretty far by being able to do a lot quickly and well. But what that means is doing a lot of things at once. And and I know personally, I forget that my writing is the most important thing, and I need to monotask that, and I need to prioritize it. That's
absolutely
perfect. Yeah, I recommend that book.
Okay, I got it.
Can you give us a quick craft tip of any sort?
Craft tip, I would say, first, I guess I would say, like, thinking about journaling the way I do it, it automatically gets sort of this layer of being personal and layered in a way. And so when you get stuck with a character and you don't know what his or her motivations are, or what he or she needs to do next or wants to do next, I always journal as that character.
Mm.
So, and you can do it for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes and just like, it's almost like method acting, I
Yeah.
guess, where just journal as that character. What did that character do that day? Or why is that character pissed off? Or why is that character happy? And then write as that character in first person, like totally become that character. And then whether you use it or not in the actual manuscript, who knows?
Right.
But you sort of dive into the feelings and the innermost kind of thoughts and emotions of that character. So using journaling as a tool to uncover character, I think that's my craft tip.
That's wonderful, and I'm going to try it. I've never tried that, but it seems like that would really inform your own subconscious of who this person is. Ooh,
Yeah.
I want to try it. I want to try it right now. On really bad days, if you couldn't teach and you couldn't write, those were just off. You couldn't do it. What other profession would you wish to have?
So I instantly thought about when you asked that because I instantly thought about when I was a kid and the things I liked to do then, and I wanted to be a magician.
I love that.
Or a mechanic.
Oh, I like that too. Interesting. They're both very tactile, right?
Yeah.
You're working tricks with your hands.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that now, and being a magician now, I think would be just so much different because so much of it is like, it seems so cerebral. I like tricks, like I'm a saw a lady in half.
Right. Pull the rabbit out of the hat, literally. Yeah.
And then being a mechanic, I don't know. If I had to choose today, it's still using my hands. I feel like I would want to have like a flower shop or a garden store or something, and because I love plants and flowers and nature, and to have the excuse to like learn everything about a particular type of plant, and then tell people how great it is or something. I don't know. A garden shop.
I had one character who was a mechanic, a female mechanic, and she owned the body shop and fueling station, and inside the gas station she sold plants. So,
what?
I know. So I understood that. It was good, and I really liked being her for that time that I was writing. Now let me ask you this, just because of that whole tactile thing that you've got going on there now, do you have any hobbies right now that are like that use your hands in that way?
I am just sort of getting into gardening now. I just bought a house last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm just getting into gardening and landscaping and things at my own home. But I used to work in gardens with my grandfather and my granny. Other than, what else do I do? I clean my albums and listen to albums and replace all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, so you do have that still.
Yeah.
There's nothing like getting your hands in the dirt though, and there's nothing for soul cleansing.
I read this thing where there's like antidepressant microbes in dirt or something, and
you could feel that.
It might have been fake news, I don't know, but I really felt like it was. I'm like, no, I think that's true.
I absolutely feel that.
Did you feel better?
Yes, the day of the Pulse shooting, I went into the garden and spent like 6 hours of hard, heavy labor. The only thing I wanted to do was get dirty and move things across the yard, and it released something,
Yeah.
And my mom was always like that. I think maybe it's passed down through generations too, but I was raised in the garden with my mom and dad too. So,
yeah.
If you were starting over as a new writer right now, what advice would you give baby Sheree writer?
To have more patience. I am completely grateful for the ways my work has been able to get into the world, but I also feel like I rushed things. And I had this feeling of because I changed careers. I was a business analyst for a while.
Oh, that's a large departure.
Well, my undergraduate degree is in HR and IT.
Wow.
And so I did that for a while, and writing was always something just I did, and I thought it could be a hobby maybe, and I realized it was not. Like, it's more than that, and I owe it to myself to try to figure out how much more. And so I quit doing that, and I went to graduate school to get my MFA. And so when I finished my MFA, I freaked out, like, okay, what now, And so a lot of rejections. I gave up on a particular project that I felt very close to write something else that ended up kind of leading me down this path. So I don't regret anything. I don't think anything is ever wasted, ever. So I'm very happy to be where I am, how I am, still learning. But I would tell the younger me, just be patient, because I felt desperate at that time. But I think impatience feels a lot like desperation if you're not. So I would just say, take your time. The publishing industry ain't going nowhere. Do your work, and you'll find your way. That's what I would tell myself.
I love that.
So.
That's wonderful. and yes, impatience does feel like desperation. I'm a very impatient person, and on a daily basis, I feel desperate about it. I don't enjoy it. What would you like to plug right now? Tell us about where we can find you and what we should read.
Okay, I am on all the social. Well, I keep saying I'm on all the social medias, but I mean that as being someone over 35. So when I'm like, I'm on all the social medias, they're like, what's your Snapchat? I'm like, So I'm on Tumblr and Facebook and Twitter, Sheree L. Greer, to keep it simple. On Instagram too. March is actually a book birthday month for me. A Return to Arms is a year old this month.
Fantastic.
And it's been really interesting seeing that new YA novel, The Hate You Give, because that is it reminds me a lot of when I read interviews with the author, a lot of the things she's talking about is where I was when I was writing A Return to Arms. So it's a Black Lives Matter inspired novel. It's set in South St. Pete, Florida. It's informed by the murder of Trayvon Martin, but it also sort of loosely chronicles a very similar shooting in St. Petersburg, Florida, in 1996.
Wow.
I don't really use dates because part of the thing that moved me so much when I was writing the novel was that the dates almost didn't matter in this like really depressing
way. In a
way.
horrible way.
And so here's this murder of this young man in St. Pete by a police officer in 96, Tyron Lewis. And then here are all these stories, being propelled through hashtags and this Black Lives Matter movement. And the 20 years between them don't matter. And then you get to thinking, well, then you think Emmett Till, and then it's like all of these years never matter. Then it's like, damn, did we make any progress at all? In a lot of ways, yes, but in a lot of ways, no. And that shit hurt. And so the book is it was in Ebony magazine, one of the top 10 to read, and every time I talk about it, I think about how difficult that book was to write. And so for it to be a year old feels like, I don't know, it feels strange because it still feels so immediate to me. And I haven't read a whole lot from it, like at any readings or anything, because I'm always scared I'm going to start crying or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that book being a year old and just really being proud of that book in a way that I was very proud of my first novel as well, but this one was the first time that I was asking questions about the world around me, whereas my first book, I was more asking questions of myself. And so I want to plug that. And then I want to plug Kitchen Table Literary Arts Center, my nonprofit. We have online classes for women of color writers.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's what we got. Kitchen-table.org.
And I will link that in the show notes for anyone who wants to
Cool.
go there. And Return to Arms is, I'm gonna step away from our interview and go one click it
Okay.
on
Cool.
Amazon. That'll be my
Cool.
next read. It sounds
Oh, thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you.
It's
Thank
been
you.
such a pleasure having you.
Right.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
sharing your
much.
time with
Thank
me.
you. Thank
All
you. I
right.
enjoyed this so much.
I
It was
know, me
great.
too. It was so nice meeting you. And
Thank you.
happy writing to you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. You too.
Okay,
All right.
bye.
Peace.